Gary, welcome back to High Performance.
Dude, I'm so excited to be here, man, back in the same studio. It's definitely upgraded since my last trip here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, amazing.
Well, what we're hoping to do right now is have a conversation that helps everyone listening and watching to this
Absolutely.
upgrade. Our audience have got in touch, and I'll tell you the things that are on their minds.
Okay.
Energy crashes.
Okay.
Muscle loss. Weight gain. Not knowing what to eat and when to eat. Aging of the skin and the body. Creatine. Sleep. Exercise. Testosterone.
Ooh, let's go through all those.
Shall we?
Okay. So
Okay.
let's start at the first one.
Energy crashes.
Okay, so energy crashes.
Should I read you out some questions that have come in from the
Yeah,
audience?
100%.
So the first one is, I get 8 hours sleep and I wake up tired. What is happening to me?
So 3 things are happening. Number 1, get a basic blood panel. And by basic blood panel, I mean, I want your physician to look at 3 things. Hormone balance. So if that's a female, full hormone profile. If it's a male, full hormone profile. Your glycemic control, how well you control your blood sugar, which is 3 markers: glucose, hemoglobin A1C, the 3-month average of your blood sugar, and your insulin. And the final thing is nutrient deficiencies, specifically vitamin D3 and DHEA and B12. These are the most common deficiencies that are leading to energy crashes, because when you say energy crash, what do you really mean? Because what do we perceive as energy in the human body? Everything that you perceive about energy is nothing more than oxygen in your blood. So if you told me, Gary, I had a lot of energy today, physiologically what you're saying is, I had a lot of oxygen in my blood today. So if oxygen equals energy, which it does, then if I want to increase your energy level, I need to increase your oxygen in your blood. There's several ways to do that. Exercise is probably the best.
Is that why you wake up tired? And this is again a question that came in. I wake up tired, I do a workout, I have more energy.
Yes.
That confuses people often. They sort of think if I'm tired, I need to sleep.
Yeah.
But that's not always the answer.
No, you increased your respiratory rate, you increased your circulation, you perfused the brain with oxygen, you perfused your muscles with oxygen. I mean, I got in at 2 o'clock this morning because I just flew over from the States. And I'm off my time zone. So I got in at 2 o'clock this morning. I woke up at 7, your time. So I got about 5 hours of sleep. And I was dragging ass this morning when I woke up. I knew the first thing that I needed to do was get out and move. I needed to get into natural sunlight, and I needed to move. Very hard to jog around here, by the way.
Find the parks. There's some big parks, but until you get
Somebody
there,
told me, to get to the park and do it, but I tried to do it winding through the city, and it's dangerous for me too because I'm always looking the wrong way for cars. And then there's a bus coming from the left, and I'm looking to the right. So aside from those hazards, I went out for a really light jog. I found a great gym in town, personal training gym. They let me work out there today, and on the way home, I got back and I told my podcast manager, I'm like, I feel amazing. So I woke up. First thing I did in the morning was I take something called Perfect Amino. And the reason why I take that is because it's all 9 of the essential amino acids. So most of us are trying to get to our protein equivalent, right? 1 gram of protein for every kilogram of body weight.
That was a very popular question that came in.
Okay.
Protein, because it gets talked about as a silver bullet for people.
Okay, so let's shift to protein for a second. Regardless of the protein source or origin, it could be collagen, it could be an egg, it could be animal protein, it could be fish, it could be vegetarian protein, it could be whey protein. All protein that you ingest becomes exactly the same thing. It gets broken down into amino acids. And then amino acids go and build different structures in the body. It is a complete fallacy that you can target direct protein, meaning we eat collagen to grow collagen in our skin. That's a fallacy. We don't eat our nails to grow our nails. We don't eat our hair to grow our hair, but we think we can eat collagen to grow collagen. Collagen is actually an incomplete protein. You cannot build muscle from it. But aside from that, when you take collagen, it's going to break down into amino acids. Those amino acids may build collagen, elastin, fibrin in your skin. They may build other structures in the body. They might build a natural killer cell. They might build connective tissue. It cannot build muscle because it's deficient in an amino acid. But you need 9 essential amino acids. The word essential means they are necessary for life. There are 9 essential amino acids. There are 2 essential fatty acids. There is no such thing as an essential carbohydrate, for the record. So just let that marinate for a second. There is no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. Carbohydrates are not essential for life. So I'm not saying don't eat them. I'm just saying be judicious with your
We'll talk about that, I
choices.
think.
We'll talk about that too. So if you want to reach your protein equivalent, especially if you're a female, to eat the amount of macros of protein to get to your protein equivalent is very difficult. The reason why the protein equivalent is so high is because you're trying to get to the amino acids. So I go direct to the amino acids. I take something called Perfect Amino. I think you can get it here in the UK on Health, HEALF. It's not an expensive product. It has all 9 of the essential amino acids. It is 99% absorbable, and it doesn't break it fast, meaning that because you put all 9 essential amino acids in, they pass right through the liver. The liver doesn't have to chop them up.
What is an amino acid?
So amino acids are the building blocks of proteins.
Right.
So if you took a muscle and you dissected it down to its molecular structure, you would find that it is a sequence of amino acids. There are certain amino acids that build muscle tissue.
Yeah.
There are other amino acids that build connective tissue. There are other ones that make our natural killer cells, our immune cells. And there are yet other ones that make collagen, elastin, and fibrin that give structure to our skin, which is what every man or woman that's putting collagen in their coffee is after. But if you took the 9 essential amino acids, essential means that the body can't make them on its own, right? So the liver's not capable of making these. We have to get them from diet or supplementation. When you put all 9 of the essential amino acids into the body in the right ratio, all of those amino acids get used to build structure in the body. As soon as you become deficient in any one of the 9 essential amino acids, the balance of those amino acids is converted to fat or sugar. So if you want to be really efficient about your protein, you go to the amino acids and not the protein. So in other words, a scoop of all 9 of the essential amino acids or tablets of all 9 of the essential amino acids is equivalent to 29 grams of protein, but yet it's non-caloric. So if you work out in a fasted state, you have to be taking amino acids before your workout.
Why?
Because when you work out in a fasted state, if you look at the way that the body prioritizes energy, first is glucose, always. So if you have sugar in your blood at a certain level, your body will burn that sugar for energy. As soon as your blood sugar gets to a certain level, your body will preserve that sugar and it will switch to its backup source of energy, which is called glycogen. Glycogen is a stored form of sugar. Now, we store it in the muscles and we also store it in the liver. What will happen is the liver will actually throw that glycogen back into the bloodstream in the form of glucose.
On High Performance, we talk a lot about ownership, about taking charge of the areas of your life that others leave to chance. Because when you step up and lead, you create the outcomes you want. And that's what Hive is here for, to put you in control of your energy. With solar, you can get the sun to work for you by turning sunlight from your roof into greener energy. And the control doesn't stop there. With the Hive app, you can track, manage, and optimize your energy all in one place. Clear, simple, built around you. And this, I think, is the real game changer. When you produce more energy than you need, you can sell it back to the grid, meaning the energy companies are paying you. At High Performance, look, we believe the future belongs to those who take action. And Hive puts that power directly in your hands, in your home. It's your energy, your rules. Hive, know your power. Visit hivehome.com to find out more. Output and savings varies by season, electricity usage and system size. Paid for surplus requires an eligible SEG tariff.
If any of your listeners have ever worn a CGM, a constant glucose monitor, what really freaks people out is they'll put this constant glucose monitor on. They have this little app on their phone, and they wake up in the morning. Now, look, you've been fasted all night, right? So maybe you had dinner at 8 o'clock at night. You went to bed at 10 o'clock at night. Now it's 6 in the morning, and you haven't eaten for 8, 9, 10 hours. And all of a sudden, your blood sugar starts to rise. You haven't even drank water, but your blood sugar is rising. How is that happening? That's because your liver is taking glycogen and throwing it into the bloodstream as glucose. It's called gluconeogenesis, new glucose. So your first source is glucose. That gets to a certain level. So in the morning, your glucose is low. So you're going to switch to glycogen very quickly. Once your glycolic reserve, your reserve of glycogen is done, now where's the body going to get energy?
Right. This is when you're working out. The body dumps this glucose in to react to the workout. Right?
It will do it when you wake up. If your blood sugar is low, your liver will start to raise your blood sugar by putting glucose into the bloodstream. And so, which people, call me all the time. Like, I don't get it, man. I woke up fasted. I didn't even have coffee. And I was watching my CGM and my blood sugar's rising. I go, that's a good thing, right? That's your liver trying to save your life. So what happens when you're out of glycogen, right? Which is about, depending on how you're working out, 20 minutes, maybe 40 minutes, max. Well, now the body is either going to get amino acids from lean muscle or it's going to get energy from fat. Fat's a very inefficient resource. The majority of the time we burn fat in low energy states or even during rest. High intensity exercise will have a tendency to burn lean muscle. So like when I was a competitive triathlete, which has been a few years, but all of the guys that were really, really good at distance swimming, distance biking, distance running, we all were skinny fat. Do you know what I mean? Like we were lean, but we had no muscle tone and we were very squishy. Now we could lay down a half marathon or what we call the century, 100-mile bike ride, but we were skinny fat. And why is that? Because we spent more time burning our own lean muscle than we did burning other sources of energy. So if you want to preserve that lean muscle, take the 9 essential amino acids first thing in the morning. I would also add to that a mineral salt. I use one called Baja Gold. BAJA Gold, but you could use a Redmond's, you could use a Celtic sea salt, because our soil and our food sources are so mineral deficient. And there are 91 essential minerals the body needs. So if you woke up in the morning hydrated, mineralized, and I'm talking about a mineral salt, and a $10 or $15 bag of this salt will last you 5 years. This is a very inexpensive biohack. Please don't be afraid of salt. We've been lied to about sodium.
So we had a nutritionist on the show not long after you last came on, and I said to her actually off camera, I said, look, this is Baja Gold, this salt. And she said one of the leading causes of mortality is too much salt in your diet. So figure that one out.
Too much sodium chloride in your diet, not too much sodium. So iodized table salt is terrible for you. But if you look at, there was a study recently published in the Wiley Journal of Headaches. And they looked, and if you look this study up, again, I'll give you the link for this for your show notes. If you look at the Wiley Journal of Headaches, which is a journal committed to headaches, and there are lots of neurologists that are published in there, they found a very interesting correlation between sodium and migraine headaches, and it was an inverse correlation. So the incidence of migraine headaches went up as sodium levels went down. The incidence of migraine headaches went down as sodium levels went up. That means that migraines were reduced by sodium intake. Yeah. And why would that be? Because when you get a headache, most people think that headache is coming from their brain, but that's actually not possible. The brain does not have any pain receptors. The brain is not capable of generating a pain signal. So no matter what you think about where you feel that pain, it is not coming from your brain. Sometimes you get a headache behind your eye or on your temporal, or if you got a hangover, it's all over, right? Okay. So your whole head, you don't know anything about that, right?
Wouldn't have any idea. No idea at all.
In years, but you've heard about this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Other
people have told me.
Yeah, a lot of people have told me. So where's the headache coming from? It's coming from the dura, which is the covering of the brain. It's like a saran wrap that's over the brain. The dura, which protects the brain, hates two things. It hates being stretched and it hates being contracted. Well, what causes it to stretch or contract? The sodium gradient. It's called osmosis, or the osmotic gradient. So when that is out of balance, when the sodium gradient is out of balance, it tightens and you have a headache. If the sodium gradient is too far out of balance, it will relax and it will signal pain. So,
and is that too little or too much sodium that's causing that, or both?
That's too little sodium.
Right.
Not enough sodium.
But is there not a knock-on effect to other parts of the body? It might solve your headache, but you may get a heart attack. Or
no. I mean, let's talk about the heart. So let's say that right now, right this moment, your blood pressure was so high that you called, we call 911. What do you guys do?
999.
999.
Yeah.
You called 999. When the paramedics show up at your house, if your blood pressure is sky high, do you know what they're going to do? They're going to bag you with sodium. They're going to start an IV line, and they're going to take 9.9% sodium chloride, so straight salt water, and they're going to bag that into your vein to lower your blood pressure. You are not hydrated when you have water in your blood. You're hydrated when you have water in your tissues. Now, where this gets lost is that sodium in nature, mineral salts, occur with a myriad of other minerals. So if you look at Baja Gold or a Redmond salt or a Celtic salt, it's not just sodium chloride. It's molybdenum, manganese, boron, silica, iron, magnesium. It's all of these trace minerals that are so important to your cellular biology. If I pulled a chart up here of your cellular biology, which is called your methylation pathways, and I pulled this chart up, it would look like the most confusing roadmap, just a myriad of spaghetti sort of, squirting and twirling everywhere. But if I blew that chart up, you would recognize every single nutrient on there. These would be basic nutrients, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, sodium, magnesium, zinc, silica. We used to be able to get these in plentiful amounts from our soil, but our soil is so depleted that we are mineral deficient. And so when you add sodium that has minerals, like a mineral salt, you don't increase your blood pressure. You actually decrease the incidence of migraine headaches. You further hydrate the body. If you know anyone who is a distance athlete or competitive athlete, in any kind of distance competition, they are either taking sodium tablets or they are ingesting high sodium fluids. If not, there's zero chance they'll complete the event. So in the morning, if we hydrate, I hydrate, mineralize, I take all 9 of the essential amino acids.
And can we get those amino acids from food?
You can get those amino acids from food, but you also get calories from food.
Yeah.
So if you're exercising most people, when they say, I want to lose weight, what they really mean is, I want to lose fat.
Yeah. Well, that's a big thing that came in is people are struggling to lose fat and gain muscle.
Yes. So so 3 things. So number 1, you get a basic hormone panel, back to the energy question.
Yeah.
So you get a basic hormone panel. What you're likely to find if you're low on energy is that you will be low on the hormone testosterone. And in about 80% of the cases where you're low on the hormone testosterone, you don't need hormone therapy. You need the raw materials for the body to make hormones. So I'll be very specific. So most people think that the hormone testosterone is a male hormone, which it is, but women also have this. And they think that the primary role of testosterone is male characteristics, which is not true. It's not deep voice, facial hair, aggression, any of those things, so strength. The primary role of testosterone in the human body is to put pressure on the bone marrow to make new red blood cells. That process is called erythropoiesis. As your testosterone drops, your production of red blood cells drops. As your production of red blood cells drops, the taxi that shuttles oxygen around your bloodstream is gone, or there are fewer of them. As you drop the amount of oxygen-carrying vessels, red blood cells, in your bloodstream, you exhibit being tired. You will also have brain fog. You'll have poor focus, poor concentration, poor short-term recall, lack of energy, lack of stamina. And if you were to raise that red blood cell count, you would have more carriers of oxygen. Right. You would perceive that as more energy. So the question is, how do I raise my testosterone? If it's low, you could obviously take testosterone injections. I don't recommend that until much later in life. Keep going down into the soil. And remember the soil example, like there's nitrogen missing in the soil. So what could be missing from the body that makes testosterone? The primary nutrient that's missing is one called DHEA. In almost every case, let's say 18 to 45 years old, men and women that are significantly deficient in testosterone, they're actually deficient in the raw material, DHEA, which makes testosterone. And when you take DHEA and you look at one other protein called SHBG, sex hormone binding globulin, this is a protein that all of us have in our blood. If it gets too high, it will bind to your testosterone and carry it right out of the bloodstream. So it will artificially lower your hormone level, even though there is nothing wrong with your hormonal system. So your body can produce adequate amounts, but this protein is binding to it, carrying it out. Very simple to lower in your bloodstream by taking something called boron, which is a mineral, B-O-R-O-N, boron. So when you get this blood test back, if you're low on the hormone testosterone, I would bet my entire career you are either high in SHBG, take boron, or low on DHEA, take 25 milligrams of DHEA daily. And The difference is astounding.
But at the beginning, we spoke about like the blue zones and walking and natural foods and olive oils. And, But then what we've talked about now for 20 minutes is supplementation and tablets. And is there any way that people can be doing this without the requirement to go to these sorts very specific things?
If you look at the reason why the blue zones didn't have to do this was because their soil was tilled. It wasn't full of glyphosate. It wasn't full of paraquat. It wasn't full of insecticides, pesticides, herbicides, and it wasn't nutrient depleted. When you begin to deplete the soil, you deplete the animals that feed on that soil. You deplete the vegetables that grow in that soil. And so even though your food may be clean and may be organic, it very often is nutrient deficient. And so the human body is so dependent on these key nutrients, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, that supplementing with them, in my case, I'm a big proponent of supplementing with the basics.
Yeah.
I take a mineral salt, I take all 9 of the essential amino acids, I take what you're drinking right there, what's called H2 tab, which is just hydrogen. I put hydrogen gas into my water. It's an elemental magnesium tablet you drop into water. It effervesces into hydrogen gas. I'd really encourage your audience to go to hydrogenstudies.com and look at any one of the 1,300 peer-reviewed published clinical studies.
We'll add a link on here.
Add a link on hydrogen. I believe that will be as common as a multivitamin in 5 years.
Would you just briefly explain what it does and why it does it?
So hydrogen it's from a molecular standpoint and a biophysiologic standpoint, there is nothing that we have ever discovered that is, as a single molecule, which is the hydrogen ion, more impactful than that. And the reason for that is, well, first of all, 10% of your body weight is hydrogen. Hydrogen is a selective antioxidant. So in the human body, we have oxidation, which is bad, too many oxidants, that reactive oxygen species, superoxide, hydrogen peroxide, hydroxyl free radicals. We have all of these free radicals. And we can, if we lower free radicals to the right level, then we don't have oxidative stress. If we lower them too much, we have what's called redox stress. So the body needs this balance. It's called homeostasis. It needs a balance between some inflammation and some oxidation and some of these what we call redox reactions, some reactive oxygen species. Hydrogen peroxide, very good until there's too much. Then it can destroy your cells. Superoxide, very good until there's too much. Then it can destroy your cells. So the hydroxyl free radical, we've found no benefit in the human body. So when hydroxyl free radicals are present, they just cause massive, massive damage. When we take antioxidants, we used to think in the 50s, there were a lot of studies that said, wow, there's this oxidative theory of aging. We're kind of rusting from the inside out. And so we should take high doses of glutathione, high doses of vitamin C, high doses of antioxidants, get oxidation down as low as you can. What we realized, this has the opposite effect that we're after. Too little oxidation is bad. You know, like when you twist your ankle and it swells, that swelling is actually a good thing, right? Those are blood flow, platelets coming to that site to repair injury. That's the cytokines being removed. That's the creatinine from potentially muscle damage being removed from that site. So there's this very delicate balance between oxidation and reductive stress, okay? When you're in homeostasis, not too much oxidation, not too little oxidation, that's when the body is harmonized and it's functioning perfectly and you feel amazing. Hydrogen is the only molecule that is a selective antioxidant. So essentially what it does is it goes into the body and it goes right through the cell wall. It enters the DNA and it has an influence on the DNA's production of oxidation. So if you have superoxide, the DNA makes superoxide dismutase. It makes catalase. It makes glutathione, the most powerful antioxidant in the human body. And what it will do is it will release these antioxidants until the oxidative stress is neutral. It will not suppress it any further. It can actually work on the opposite side of that equation and take reactive oxygen species and increase them to the level of proper oxidative balance. So nothing that I have ever studied in my entire career has the ability to be a selective antioxidant like hydrogen. And if you don't believe me, please go read the studies, because there's two types of people in this world: the people that say that that's complete voodoo, and the people that have read the studies. And I sit on the board of the NFL Alumni Association back in the U.S., and I'm their health services director. So we see, most people think I take care of a bunch of old men, but the average retirement age in the NFL is about 25 years old. So younger probably than a lot of your audience. Yeah. And the number one thing that they struggle with are repetitive use injuries: knees, hips, shoulders, rotator cuff, low back, all these nips and bibbles from basically running into a wall every day as a career. And I put all of them on the same cocktail: mineral salt, hydration, amino acids, hydrogen gas. Absolute game changer. You feel the lights come on because of the immediate reduction in inflammation. Hydrogen is the smallest, lightest element in the universe. I mean, I'm fascinated by it. I've been so deep down the rabbit hole since our last podcast for almost a year. I've incessantly studied this molecule. There seems to be no negative side effects to it. It restores balance in the body. It delays.
And does it do it instantly? Do you need to do it over a period of time?
It's instant. It instantly goes. It instantly goes to work. And part of the reason is, if you look at, the majority of people will tell you that, even some cardiologists, shockingly, will tell you that the heart circulates all the blood in the body. It doesn't. The heart circulates about 30% of our blood. We have 63,000 miles of blood vessel in our body. And 70% of that circulation is not done by the heart. It's done by an activity called vasomotor. Think of a snake swallowing a mouse, right? When a snake swallows a mouse, there's no hose in the snake's mouth pushing the mouse along. It's a muscular contraction, right? Like a peristaltic activity. And it's moving that mouse down the snake's body. That is exactly how a bolus of blood moves through 70% of our circulatory system. 70% of our circulation is not done by the heart. It's done by vasomotor. These are venules and capillaries. They're microcapillaries. So we never talk about that 70% of the circulation. This is the vast majority of your brain. It's the vast majority of the circulation to your lung. It is the vast majority of the circulation inside your muscles. Removing lactic acid, bringing oxygen to the site, bringing carbon dioxide out. This system that's shuttling all these necessary nutrients in the human body is microvascular. So what can we do to cater to that? Well, cold plunging, saunas, exercise, and hydrogen gas. Right. Cater specifically to that 70% of your circulation.
So
I
interesting.
mean, the reason why most people begin to wear glasses, readers, for example, in their 40s and 50s, I'll be 55 this month, and I don't wear readers, and is because I cater to that 70% of my circulation. Some of the smallest microvasculature in the body supplies the back of the eyes. Mm. And so we start to get older, we think something's wrong with our rods or cones or macula or retina. There's nothing wrong with any of those structures. What's happening is the vasomotor activity is compromised. When you feel brain fog, and you can't focus and you can't concentrate and your short-term memory feels a little off. You can't find your keys or your wallet. You meet somebody at a dinner party and they tell you their name, they walk away, and 10 minutes later they come back and you're like, shit, I forgot this guy's name. That it's more common than you think. You get a great idea in the bedroom, you walk to the kitchen, you wonder what the hell you're doing in the kitchen. This is microvasculature. This is compromising in the microvasculature. So my suggestion is, if you really want to start your health journey, get a basic blood panel: hormones, blood sugar control, and nutrient deficiencies. If you start there, I would also highly suggest that you get once in your lifetime, and we talked about this on your last podcast, and since then I've been working on bringing my test and my supplements to the UK. I will be launching those in October.
Amazing.
Yeah, I was telling you before the podcast, your health authority is brutal, dude.
Yeah, but I think that's important for you because,
brutal.
When you talk about the things you talk about, when you work in the world that you're in, there will be criticism, there'll be naysayers, people with a difference of opinion. I think if the work that you're doing and the products that you're creating have been accepted by the authorities in the UK with some very high hurdles to jump over. That's almost good news for you, right?
Yeah.
The fact they've made it hard for you and you've managed to get these through, right?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I consider that a feather in our cap for sure. Yeah. And look, I mean, to their credit, they test every nutrient. You have to provide science-backed evidence. You have to prove stability, sterility, potency. You can't have undisclosed binders, fillers. So the supplements that make it here and that are available for sale here are probably amongst the cleanest in the world.
Let's be honest. Parenthood gives you the highest highs and the lowest lows. It can drain you, it can challenge you, it can push you to your limits, your time, your energy, your focus, it's all gone. And how often do you feel like you're just running on empty? And then it's so hard to show up and be that parent that you really want to be. And high performance, by the way, isn't just about big wins. It isn't about victories. It's about showing up consistently for the people and the things that matter the most. And that is why I take Vitals from Heights. This is just 2 capsules. You take them once a day and it's got omega-3, all the B vitamins, iron, D3, 20 essential nutrients. And what's really important actually for me personally is that I know this is designed by doctors and dietitians. I know it's been tested again and again and again. It takes me seconds to take these capsules, but it gives me that stamina, that focus, that better sleep, that mental clarity that just lasts and lasts. All of the things that I think help me to be the dad that I want to be and not the dad that's so tired he can't play with his kids. And if you don't trust me, maybe you'll trust the science. Maybe you'll trust the 120,000 people that take Vitals and they take it for a good reason. So if you want to feel sharper, more focused, more in control throughout your day, just go to heights.com/HP and use the code HP20 for 20% off, or easily just click the link in the description.
What I would recommend is once in your lifetime, you do a methylation test. And this test is critical because—
And that will be available in the UK?
It'll be available in the UK in October. I'll have a genetic methylation test. You'll just go to a website, you order the test, it'll come to your front door. You stick a Q-tip in your mouth, you swab your cheek, you put it back in an envelope, it goes to a lab here in the UK. They run your genetic profile. When it comes back to you, it tells you exactly what your body is deficient in. And the reason why this test is so critical, in my opinion, is that if you have a gene broken in one cell, it is broken in all 32 trillion cells in your body.
Yeah.
If you are able to supplement for that gene's deficiency, you fix it in all 32 trillion cells in the body. So when you're starting your supplement journey, which is one of the most difficult things for people, because God forbid you get on Google and start Googling around. It's like CoQ10, resveratrol, St. John's wort, ashwagandha. And I can make an argument for any of those. But the question is, what is your body deficient in? You know, it's back to the tree example, the oak tree example. You're missing nitrogen in the soil. If you didn't find the missing nitrogen, nothing else mattered.
So this gives you the specifics.
It gives you the specifics. And then you supplement for that deficiency for the rest of your life. You will feel— you want to talk about a shift in human physiology, weight gain, water retention, hormone balance, focus and concentration, energy, your sleep, not the length of your sleep, but the depth of your sleep, your REM sleep and your deep sleep, which are absolutely critical to human performance, right? Because we all know that sleep is critical, but most people don't know why, right? Because there are two main phases of sleep that are absolutely critical to performance. One is deep sleep, because during deep sleep, this is the only time that your glymphatic system— we have the lymphatic system in the body, right? The static system that eliminates waste. But we actually have a waste elimination system in the brain called the glymphatic system. During deep sleep, this glymphatic system starts to circulate and it starts to pull waste out of the brain. So the brain literally detoxifies, regenerates, and eliminates waste at night during deep sleep.
Because I've always been confused by people that say if you're a bit overweight, you're maybe not getting enough sleep. And I've never managed to equate those two things. I don't understand how more sleep helps you lose weight.
It's so true. And sleep, especially for young entrepreneurs, is the stepchild of your schedule. Yeah. You know, like we bully sleep more than we bully anything else. And I had decided years ago that I would schedule all of my meetings. The reason why this podcast is late in the morning is I knew that I was getting in late and I needed to get some sleep. I schedule all my meetings and travel around sleep and exercise. So sleep and exercise is my priority, then meetings and travel. Most people flip those, right? So we bully sleep because of our meetings, because of our travel, because of other commitments. And so being a little selfless with putting yourself first, for lack of better words, and really focusing on sleep. And the second phase of sleep that's important is REM sleep. But during REM sleep, this is when we assemble memory, right? So all the things that you learn during the day, all of the problems that you're facing during the day, those are usually solved and assembled at night, right? When your prefrontal cortex and your hippocampus, your memory center, and your conscience are beginning to talk to each other. That's when you absorb knowledge. That's when you assimilate memory. And so if you're getting good REM and you're getting good deep sleep, it's not about the length, it's about the quality. When you're getting good REM and good deep sleep, you're not only eliminating waste, detoxifying, repairing, and regenerating the brain, but you're also assembling memories. So you're sharp, you're focused.
And is that just more time in bed?
No, it's more quality time in bed. And the way to get more quality time in bed, I'll give you a few just, say, free tricks that you could do. So there are some absolutely data-proven strategies for getting deep sleep. One of them is to sleep in a room that's very cold. The colder the better, 69 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius. Somebody could figure that out. About 69 degrees Fahrenheit. Make the room as dark as you can possibly make it. If you can't make it that dark, just buy a $10 cotton eye mask on Amazon. One of those full-face eye masks, snaps in the back. Make sure it's cotton, not polyester. And put a full-face cotton eye mask on for $10. This is such a game changer for sleep. I mean, once you start sleeping with an eye mask, you'll never sleep without one. If you can, try not to eat any solid food. Fluids are fine, but no solid food 2 hours before bedtime, but absolutely not within an hour of bedtime. Digestion really interrupts our sleep patterns. And then if you're one of those people that ruminates, I call it, your environment quiets and then your mind wakes up, which is a lot of people listening to this podcast. They'll lay down to go to sleep at night and their mind will wake up. And if you actually ask them, what kind of things are you thinking about? They'll tell you it's like the most innocuous nonsense, right? It's like, did I get everything on my grocery list?
It feels big.
Did my belt match my shoes today? Did I return my Instagram post? So to stop rumination, just add magnesium at night. 3 and 8 is probably the best one for sleep. Magnesium, 3 and 8. And then the final thing is having a break between your day and your sleep. So, when you get off of your phone, when the time that you're going to get to bed, I actually set an alarm to go to bed, which sounds odd. Most people set alarms to wake up. I actually set an alarm to go to bed. If you're really one of those people that has a difficult time falling asleep, try a contrast shower where you just get in the shower warm, turn the water as hot as you can stand it, let it run on your back for a few minutes, then step out of that stream of water, turn it as cold as it will go. I know it sounds crazy. Step back into that stream of water for 30 seconds and just deal with it. Then get out of the shower, dry off, and get in bed. You will see that contrast shower broke the cycle of something called catecholamines. These are fight or flight neurotransmitters that are up in your brain, keeping your brain alert, but your body tired. You break that cycle, throw on a nice cotton eye mask, go into a cold room, get underneath the covers, let your body slowly start to warm. When I'm in bed, I do just some slow rhythmic breathing, long, slow inhales through my nose, long, slow exhales through a straw, or perceived straw. And I'll bet if you did 10 of those deep inhalations and breathed out through a straw, 10 inhalations, breathed out through a straw, you wouldn't even make it to the 10th breath.
Very helpful.
Yeah.
Lots of people messaged us about the thing that happens when they wake up. How soon should they eat? What is the truth about fasting? A lot of people need energy, so they rely on coffee, and then they tend to have lunch. They don't have a big dinner, but they're still overweight. They're not sure what's happening.
So if you can, and there's an enormous body of evidence behind this, delay your coffee intake 60 to 90 minutes from when you wake. And I'll give you the science behind that if you like, but by delaying your coffee intake, you actually allow, in the morning, you have a hormone called cortisol, which is actually rising. Melatonin is falling. Cortisol is a great hormone. When there's too much or too little of it, it could be a problem, but people think all cortisol is bad. It's not. You want cortisol to rise in the morning. So if within 30 minutes of waking, you just did a couple simple things, hydrate, amino acid, mineralize the body within 30 minutes of waking. If you can, get outside or expose your skin or at least expose your eyes to natural sunlight. And I always, always, always do a short round of breath work. It can be as simple as 3 rounds of 5 breaths, but do it militantly and never miss, because we are such circadian creatures. We are such creatures of biorhythms. And when we get up at 6 one morning and 9 the next and 5:30 the next morning and 7:15 the day after, our physiology gets off, our biological clock
There's
gets
big
off.
body evidence now, isn't there, that to get to sleep better at night, stick to a specific wake-up time, regardless of the day of the week.
As much
The
as
time
you
you
can.
go to bed is
specific-
almost less important
Yeah,
than the time
yeah.
you wake up.
Yeah, bedtime and wake up time. So when you wake up, do the same thing every day.
Yeah.
One of the important reasons for this is if you change time zones, if you travel, and your body is clued into, when I wake up, I hydrate, mineralize amino acids, I take hydrogen tablets. You do this routine of hydrating and mineralizing, and then you expose your skin, or at least your eyes, to sunlight. You do a short round of breath work, and you're consistent with just that part of your routine, which is ultra portable. It's very inexpensive. And so your body gets locked into knowing this is what we do when we wake up. It's morning because it's time to wake up because we're doing X. And by having that consistent routine that you never miss, that you take with you everywhere. And then fasting is not a one size fits all. I will tell you that some of the worst endocrine disasters I have ever had to manage, and we've had 200,000+ patients come through our functional medicine clinic. And I'm not a physician, for the record. I'm a human biologist, so I don't directly manage these patients. I manage them with a licensed physician. But in the 200,000 patients that we've had plus come through our clinic system, some of the worst endocrine disasters I've seen are young menstruating females. They still have a menstrual cycle, and they eat in a very narrow feeding window. For men, it's almost universally can benefit from intermittent fasting. For women, it's entirely different, right? I mean, nothing is more frustrating than a woman and her spouse, both intermittent fasting, guys losing weight, getting jacked, feels great, and she's barely eating, eating in a 4-hour, 6-hour, 8-hour window, and she's blowing up like a tick, right? She's retaining water. She feels foggy. She's not getting the energy that her husband's getting. And this is because if you don't know your blood sugar profile, fasting can be very detrimental. And here's specifically what I mean. There is a marker in your blood sugar profile called hemoglobin A1C. It's a 90-day average of your blood sugar. It's the 3-month average of your blood sugar. If this is below 5.3, meaning you on average have very low blood sugar, intermittent fasting is not for you. And the reason for that is you will spend more of your time in a hypoglycemic state, too low a blood sugar.
Yeah.
And intermittent fasting is phenomenal for people that have difficulty controlling their blood sugar.
And can you get this information from wearing is this like a blood glucose monitor?
You could wear a blood glucose monitor. You could go to any clinic in the UK. They can test your blood sugar. That's super easy. So you want to look at glucose, hemoglobin A1C, the 3-month average of your blood sugar, and insulin. Now, if you are insulin resistant, you have high average blood sugar and very high insulin, intermittent fasting can be absolutely the most, it can only save and extend your life. It could just be the panacea that changes everything. If you are low average blood sugar and you intermittent fast, you're going to spend a lot of time hypoglycemic, which low blood sugar also makes you foggy, makes you tired, makes you unable to focus, and it makes it very, very hard to have any stamina in a workout. So, I can't tell you how many women have come through my clinic and said, Gary, I don't get it. I wake up every morning. I'm fasted. I have a cup of black coffee. We have this exercise thing called Orange Theory. Do you have Orange Theory here? Okay, so it's like a little boot camp that people go to. It's very popular in the United States. So women will go to this class for 55 minutes. They go hammer down 5 days a week for 3 months, and they don't lose a single pound.
Yeah.
And they're like, Gary, I don't get it. I'm not even eating. And I go, well, you're not eating, but your body is. It's just eating you. So because when your blood sugar gets too low, You'll metabolize your own lean muscle tissue. Your thyroid will begin to throttle back your metabolism.
Right. So what we're saying is don't just assume eating less is going to make you thinner, and get some information about your body before you decide that.
Before you start, especially if you're a young menstruating female, get information on your blood sugar before you start intermittent fasting.
And what about a longer water fast as a reset? I mean, I've got a photo here of you and Dana. I mean, the one that I love actually is, let's just show this. If you're watching on YouTube, this will make sense to you. I mean, that I think is the perfect photograph to show before and after of the work you did with him.
Yeah.
Did you put him on a long water fast?
So I put Dana first on a 10-week keto reset.
Yeah.
So I put him on a very, very strict clean keto diet for 10 weeks. And when I mean very strict, like I wrote a diet for him right down to the grocery list. And I said, Dana, if it is not on this list, you cannot eat it.
Keto being low or no carbohydrates?
Virtually no carbohydrates, less than 50 grams, and in his case, even less than that.
Could you briefly explain why that was important?
So in Dana's case, he had very, very high, on his blood work, he had very, very high triglyceride, which is a measure of the amount of fat in your blood. And people think that your triglycerides rise from eating too much fat, and that's actually not true. Your triglycerides rise from eating too much sugar, because the primary role of insulin is not to lower blood sugar. The primary role of insulin is to block any other form of energy use in the body. So when insulin rises, it doesn't allow your body to mobilize and metabolize fat. It slows down protein metabolism, and it forces you to focus on sugar. So, and then of course it also does transport sugar into the cell. I don't want people to attack me online. It does actually help your body metabolize glucose and move glucose into the cell, but it does so by stopping you from using other energy sources. And so if you do your blood work and your triglycerides are through the roof, you actually need to lower your carbohydrates, not lower your fat intake. So I'm not a fan of prolonged keto diets, but 10-week keto resets could be life-saving. The keto diet's the lowest inflammatory diet that we know of. When the body switches to a fuel source called beta-hydroxybutyrate, which is a ketone body, this is a very clean fuel. It gives people a lot of energy. It was originally formulated for epilepsy because it's so low inflammatory. The body also produces the mitochondria produce a type of water called deuterium-depleted water. If you really want to have some fun, just Google deuterium-depleted water. It's phenomenal what happens when you're on a keto diet and your cells begin to produce this very special type of light water. And so I was trying to lower his life-threatening level of triglyceride. So I put him on a strict keto reset. He probably lost 25 or 28 pounds in that 10 weeks. I mean, it just stripped off of his body. He felt amazing. To his credit, he followed it like the gospel. And then we started to introduce slow burn carbohydrates like sweet potatoes and things like that. And then he went back to a whole food diet. So that was a way to intervene. But just back to the intermittent fasting for a minute. If you look at Dr. Walter Longo's research, the longevity scientist at USC in California. He wrote a book called The Longevity Diet. He also did a lot of the Blue Zone research. He also does a lot of research on intermittent fasting and fast mimicking diets. I would say a very, very, very safe place, just in general to start, is 12 hours on, 12 hours off. Eat from 8 in the morning till 8 at night. Nothing in your mouth before 8 a.m., nothing in your mouth after 8 p.m. You're feeding for 12 hours and you're fasting for 12 hours. That's a very safe place for all men, all women to start, and you don't risk the hypoglycemic episodes, right, eating. What's astounding is if you ask most people, they'll tell you that's kind of my feeding window, but the truth is they start to graze when they get out of bed and they start to graze right until they get into bed at night.
And should you train while fasted? Is that more beneficial?
Well, it depends on what your goal is. So if your goal is to maintain muscle and to lose fat, then you should exercise in a fasted state. But I'm not a big fan of very intense exercise in a fasted state. If you are exercising fasted, you have to take the 9 essential amino acids before you exercise. It will not break a fast, but it will provide your body the capacity to have those amino acids available so it does not look to lean muscle, to strip lean muscle. And I'm a much bigger fan of weight training than I am of cardiovascular training. If you only have certain amount of time to exercise. I'm training very specifically for a 10K now. I'm running a 10K with hundreds of thousands of people in Dubai in November. So I can't let myself look like like a slowpoke. So I'm the thinnest I've been in a long time. But if you are exercising in a fasted state, take a mineral salt and take the amino acids, stay hydrated, you'll preserve your lean muscle. There are ways to dramatically improve the body's capacity to build lean muscle. One of them is peptides. I am an enormous fan of peptides. And peptides are very safe. You can get them here in the UK. Yeah. There's a couple of peptides that are very, very specific to helping you build lean muscle for both men and women. They are the growth hormone peptides. They're not growth hormone. They are growth hormone peptides. Peptides are amino acid sequences. When you put them into the body, they cause the body to produce either certain hormones or they enhance function in the body. There are two categories, GHRPs and GHRHs, growth hormone releasing hormones and growth hormone releasing peptides. Neither of these is growth hormone. I'm not a fan of taking growth hormone from outside the body and putting it in. You can develop dependency. You can reduce your pituitary's production of growth hormone. But peptides like CJC 1295 and ipamorelin, or sermorelin and ipamorelin, these are, very safe. 5 days on, 2 days off. You can take them in a sublingual. You can take them in an injectable form. There is a company called Peptual that makes them in a patch. And what this will do is it will rewind your pituitary to a more youthful level of growth hormone secretion. When you do that, every cell in the body responds. I mean, if you want to layer on lean muscle at an alarming rate, take a growth hormone peptide. Because when we go to the gym and we tear muscle, right, which is the whole purpose of going to the gym, and that muscle grows back larger, that's called muscle hypertrophy. If you went to the gym and tore that muscle and it grew back larger, and then new tissue formed around that tear, that's called muscle hyperplasia. So new tissue growth. So you get muscle hypertrophy, the growth of the muscle you have, plus you get the addition of new muscle. So if you're really trying to layer on lean muscle, I'm not aware of anything that would do that faster or safer than a peptide.
Interesting. Right. We've got about 5 minutes.
Okay. It's fired up.
And
we'll go fast.
I've got some stuff here that people were really keen for answers on. So if we can go through these, that would be amazing. One person says, all I hear now is people saying that creatine is some kind of magic bullet for health.
Is.
Should I be taking it? And what will it do for me other than build my muscle?
Yes. So creatine, and I would prefer the form of creatine called HCl, creatine hydrochloride. So there's two forms of creatine monohydrate, which people have a tendency to bloat on, and creatine HCl, hydrochloride. The studies now on creatine are absolutely crystal clear. If you are a female over 40, you need to be taking 5 to 7 milligrams of creatine daily, full stop.
Why?
Up to 20 milligrams of creatine, because creatine is not only for bodybuilders. It does hold water in the muscle. It does enhance muscle hypertrophy. So creatine is excellent if you're working out intensely. You should be on creatine if you're regularly exercising, 5 milligrams minimum. Up to 20 milligrams in men and women will actually cross the blood-brain barrier, and it will saturate the brain. And we're finding now that creatine's impact on cognitive function, on memory, on hormone balance is absolutely phenomenal. And there are very, very, very few downsides to taking creatine. I'm an enormous, enormous fan of creatine. I tell every one of my female clients that's over 40 that you have to be on 5 to 7 milligrams of creatine. If you're having brain fog or focus and concentration issues, up to 20 milligrams of creatine. It's cleared very easily through the liver and the kidneys. It does not put a lot of stress on the body. It's been thought of for probably the last 15 or 20 years as a bodybuilding supplement. It's not just to bulk up. It also helps with joint soreness, with ligament and tendon repair. These are the most underserved tissues in the body. Big fan of creatine, HCl.
Perfect. A message here saying, I love to sauna, but I'm not sure how long I should be doing it for. I believe there's a certain amount of time where things can really be impacted positively, but too much is negative.
That's correct. So sauna is one of the best hormetic stresses we know of in the human body. It's also arguably the greatest way to detox. So when we were talking earlier about immunofatigue, when you look at the data on sauna extending life, and it's clear, why does sauna reduce all-cause mortality? Well, it's not because it's heating you up. It's because it's eliminating waste. So sauna should be done between 160 and 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, we can convert that to Celsius. 15 to 20 minutes maximum. I prefer that you do a liter of fluid when you're either in or immediately finish the sauna. And if you are detoxing from anything, mold, mycotoxins, parasites, viruses, if you're doing a detox, when you get in the sauna and you finish your sauna session and your liter of fluid, take an activated charcoal. You can take these in tablets. You can take them in powders. You can take them in liquid form. It's very easy to get here in the UK. Take an activated charcoal and then don't eat for another hour, at least, after you get out of the sauna. And the reason for this is that these binders, charcoal is a binder, it will bind these inflammatory compounds, cytokines, histamines, mold spores, mycotoxins, even parasites and viruses, and it will help carry them out in your stool. So sauna can be amazing for you. I would say 3 to 5 days a week, 15 minutes to 20 minutes maximum.
Well, I do 20 minutes, then a cold plunge, and then back in the sauna. Is that
that's
recommended?
great. Yes. And the other thing you want to do is you want to take a dry towel in the sauna with you and wipe your sweat off while you're in the sauna. Because if you did a sauna scrape in a dry sauna, you'd find not only water and sodium, you'd find heavy metals, you'd find glyphosate, you'd find insecticides, pesticides, herbicides, you'd find all of these things, butylenes, you'd find PFAs, these polyfluoroalkyls coming out in your skin. So you don't want, while you're warm and your pores are open, for that to just resorb. So if you're in the sauna and you want to get the maximum amount out, just wipe yourself down while you're in the sauna, sweat again and wipe yourself down.
Can we also just give 30 seconds to these bros that think you need to be in a cold plunge, which is covered in ice, and you have to stay as long as possible, as cold as possible? The science, let's be really clear, isn't backing it up. Longer and colder is better.
No, there is no evidence that longer is better or colder is better. 48 to 52 degrees, again, Fahrenheit, 3 minutes minimum, 6 minutes maximum. You're trying to get 4 things from a cold plunge: peripheral vasoconstriction, driving blood to the core, up to the brain, the liver, lungs, pancreas, and the kidneys, which will happen right away. You're trying to get a release of something called cold shock proteins, which are fascinating proteins that are reserve proteins held in your liver. You're trying to activate something called brown fat, which is the thermostat in the human body that exchanges a calorie for a measure of heat. And you're trying to get a release of dopamine and norepinephrine, which are what wake the mind up.
Okay.
And that all happens 3 to 6 minutes.
Someone said that senolytics are being spoken about a lot these days. They feel very new. What do you think of them?
I think senolytics are, one of those promising categories, but not well-defined categories. If you actually look at most of the research in animal studies, we got to carry these over to human beings. Sometimes we make too large of a jump. And again, when you take synthetics to augment function in the human body, one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of peptides is those are amino acid sequences. But when you take synthetics to augment function in the human body, I have a hard time making that connection that human physiology, to be optimized, needs something like a chemical, a synthetic, or a pharmaceutical. Okay.
And if there's one thing that you would love people to research after this conversation, again, we can add the show notes on, to really understand the future of longevity, the thing that maybe you're most excited about at the moment that we could all learn from, what would you like people to do straight after this conversation?
Two things. One, really go down the rabbit hole of hydrogen. I mean, it's going to sound like I'm just trying to push hydrogen tablets, but it is. The more you understand about what this gas can do in the human body, how inexpensive it is, it's about $1 a day for hydrogen tablets. It can be a complete game changer for people that have hormone imbalance, weight gain, water retention, inflammation, injuries that won't heal, brain fog, poor focus and concentration. It's just an absolute panacea. I'm an enormous fan. The second is, if you have unexplained symptoms, with so many people listening to this do, they're like, Gary, I've already gotten my blood work done. My blood work's great, but I still wake up feeling like a lead balloon. Yeah. I can't focus. I can't concentrate. I've got ADD. I've got ADHD. I've got anxiety. I can't put a finger on it. I want you to test for these big 4. Because what does not show up in your blood work, and what very often is wrecking our physiology, are mold and mycotoxins, and London is fraught with mold. Mold, mycotoxins, parasites, viruses, and heavy metals.
Okay.
If you test for those 4, and there is a test called a vibrant wellness test, it's a urine test, and you see these off the charts, that's when you need to start a detox. You can actually go to my, I have a VIP program. I'm going to give all of your listeners 50% off of it. So if they just go to theultimatehuman.com VIP and enter HPP, High Performance Podcast, they'll get 50% off my membership. But once you get in there, you can download the mold detox guide, the heavy metal detox guide, the guide to testing for these things, very, very simple things like binders that we can use. And very often this unlocks that last 20 yards that people cannot figure out. It just closes that final gap for them because their blood work looks great, but they don't feel well. And if you fall into that category, please go there, download those guides. I wrote them for a reason. It could be life-changing.
Look, thank you so much. I think it's so great in some ways that we know more than ever, but it's so hard in other ways because there is so much misinformation out there, and it's so hard to sort of nail it down. But I think this is really important. It's the second time we've had this conversation or a similar conversation.
I love it. Every time I'm coming to the UK, I'm coming to see you, man.
Yeah, please do. Well, I was going to say, the first one, the numbers were off the scale. This time, we had so many messages in from our audience wanting to get answers. Thank you so much.
You got it,
Gary,
brother.
I love that, man. Yeah.